Hello, 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 hello. How is everyone doing today? What people said doing no way. Absolutely completely dancing for me. Oh, goodness. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, hello, hello. Let's turn this music off. So, well, maybe here. Let me get onto my live here on this one, and we'll just do it. So, welcome everybody. I'm reading comments on my on a post I did. Anyways, 34 today. Yeah, it's gonna be hot here today. It's gonna be 34 or higher. I think it's gonna be 32 by 1. But I thought I'd get on here before I go to physio because after physio I'm basically null and void. Um yeah, it is. Well, still one of the crazy days. One of the things I don't even know where to begin today. It's just been so crazy. It's been I don't know what to say. It's just been kind of like you're standing in the middle and there's this tornado going on around you and you're trying to step out of the tornado. But this is where, especially where Saturn's coming in and the opposition with the moon and Saturn, it is coming in and really wanting to create um a spot of surrender, a place where you can say, you know what, but it's not just bypassing. This is not just sort of sitting back on the back burner and saying I'm going to just see how things go. That's not what it is. It's not a bypasser. It's not just sitting and just sort of surrendering. This is about how am I going to make my next step up? What is my next step up? How can I continue going forward in the chaos, in the crazy, in the conflict, in where where things feel like you can't go forward, right? And this is a surrender in that stepping up, because that stepping up you're not really sure where you're going to go. And there is a part of deception within oneself that, can I do this? Do I want to do this? um how can I do this? I can't, or I can't do this anymore, whatever the narrative is. But that, that deception comes in within us. And that deception, I'm going to call, you can call it whatever you want. Oh, hi Shar, you're not over on you're on YouTube. That deception can be whatever you want to call it, right? I'm going to call it the devil. um you can call it evil, you can call it whatever. And a lot of you people will say there's no such thing as the devil. But if you believe in the light, you got to believe in the darkness. And in the dark there's light, and in the light there's dark, right? The yin and the yang. And there is this surrendering of stepping up, meaning that you are trusting in a higher power that is going to guide you upon this. And it may feel like chaos and may feel like crazy. Um, just on a comment I made, and watching people's comments, and my little Scorpio way, I haven't commented back because it's just not even worth it. Macklemore came and did a concert here in Calgary, and he was wearing a Calgary Flames jersey, which they tend to do. And then he took the flag of that place that's in the news right now. I have Palestine, fuck it. He took the flag and he was waving it around, and he got into stage and everybody cheered. And I made a comment with the emoji of the woman with the hand over her face and just sort of shaking the head, saying, why wasn't it a Canadian flag? That's all I said. Why wasn't it a Canadian flag? I didn't say I hate Palestine. I didn't say anything about Palestine. All I said is, like, Why not a Canadian flag? We live in Canada. Why not a Canadian flag? Well, people got pissed off. It's it's so amazing. And then I look at the astrology and seeing how with everything that's going in Uranus on Elgo, how deception is so prominent right now and how things can get blurred with everything. Even though, with Jupiter on Alderon, it brings in hope. It brings in, yes, we can do this. Yes, we can go forward. We have that within us to move. And it feels sometimes like we don't. It feels like there is an overwhelmness and deception within inside ourselves that we don't want to step back. We just want to sit back and let it all go by, but you can't. Stepping up means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And stepping up is you just can't let things go anymore. And I just watched a newscast, and just watching like she spoke out, and it was on, it's called Talk TV. It's kind of mainstream. I'm not sure who owns it, but I mean, just for her to say what she said on there was very controversial. People will call her a bigot, call her prejudiced. How dare she speak out? But what they are finding is that and this isn't all Muslims, okay? I'm just going to do that disclaimer. But with a high influx of immigrants coming into countries like England, like Ireland, Sweden, um, we'll get to France in a moment. When you see an influx of people coming in, now there's nothing wrong with immigrants. Trust me, my husband's an immigrant. I'm born from an immigrant family, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It's how you integrate within that country, how you come into the country and bring forth something to better the country, right? And this is, I mean, I even been people. I just like it boggles my fucking mind, right? And it's coming together as humans, and it's coming together and gathering. Now, there are groups that are coming in, and I did my little research last night and today on everything that comes to do with Palestine, which comes from the word Philistines, Philistine, no, Philistines, which is in the Bible. They didn't even believe in Muhammad. They didn't believe in Allah. They believed in a totally three different gods, right? They worship three different gods. And the whole thing about Palestine, it was under occupation. It was owned by, occupation of Egypt, the United Kingdom of Egypt until 1967. It's just, sometimes people don't realize all of these, and that was from the 6 Day War. All of this transformation and all these changes that um, have happened, and not realizing that the one who's ruling that area right now is a man who's part of I'm going to call it an evil organization called Hamas. And when we don't vet whoever comes into our country, when we don't say, you know what, we want people here that are really going to work. Like when they brought Filipinos in, I mean, like, God help them. They work fucking hard. I know they'll work 2, 3 jobs. When they brought Caribbean people in, when the Caribbeans came in, they worked fucking hard. They got an education. They went and a lot of them that are here, my sister-in-law is one, my husband, is that they worked fucking hard to get what they wanted. They became a part of the community. You go and ask them today, yeah, they're Trini, or they're Guyana, or they're Jamaican, but they're Canadian, right? Difference. They didn't come in here to rape, to pillage, to take advantage. And that's what we're seeing right now in this world. And in stepping up, that means stepping up and saying things like, why not the Canadian flag? Simple comment. But a simple comment like that Like, it's on Urban Calgary if you ever wanna look at it. And I mean, I got 100 likes, but the comments on there, I even had one woman come into my DMs, and say, "Your grandchildren hate you." It's just like, because I want the Canadian flag? Like, where does that come from? Like, that doesn't even make sense, right? But that's where the evil is. The evil is in the lack of understanding. It is in the lack of opening up. That's where it is. When you don't want to understand, when you don't want to educate yourself and you just want to stay in this narrow and this is what I want and this is where I want to go, and I'm going to just sit back and bypass everything because that's where, because Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. I just, oh, whatever, just let it go. That's when craziness happens around you. That's when corruption happens. And this is where, when we're stepping up, stepping up and acknowledging what we have to step up into. And sometimes it's fearful because we're going to be ridiculed. People aren't going to like us. People are going to throw shit at us. And I've had shit thrown at me all my life. People didn't like who I was. People didn't like who I hung out with. My girlfriend was Aziza. She was from Kenya. Oh, how do you dare hang out with somebody, like they called her Paki and stuff. I'm like, well, she's African. She's from Kenya. How could she be from Kenya? She's brown. She was Muslim. And she was a good friend of mine. Didn't even think about it. Right? Didn't even, it wasn't anything in my mind that brought in like, ooh, don't like that person because they're this. This was just like, no, this is a pure acceptance of the person and understanding. And another friend of mine, Ratan, who lives here in Calgary, um I think he's of Hindu descent. I lived in Penticton, we knew fuck all. But it was just, yeah, it just is what it is, right? And it's just that pure acceptance. But you saw these people wanting to make a better life for themselves, right? Wanting to step out and create something better and be a part of the community and not disrupt. But now we are seeing, and that's part, and that's why I say education is so important. When you start to really look at what is their motive, right? What is their motive? Their motive is to take over. Now, bringing back to France, and as you all know, I love my chateaus, and I love the energy of France. Is the far left, and all I could see in this protest are the flags of Palestine. This is at the same astrological with where Uranus is, where Jupiter is, of when Hitler went in and took over Paris and the occupation of Paris, of France, the same time. And the Olympics are happening at the same time too in Paris. So this is like, whoa, what does this all mean? Well, what is the far left? What do they want? They want control. They want control of France. So you have control of France, which is the child, right? Control the child, maybe we can control the parents, and this is where, in that is like, their agenda is to rid anybody who's not Hamas. And that's what people have to understand. It's like not all. It's like a radical, or when you get people who are Christian and they're crazy radicals and wave around snakes and all that kind of. Not all Christians are like that. Not all Christians are Bible pumpers. That's the thing. It's like you have a few that are, a few crazy ones. But that's the whole thing. Is like, we have this group that wants to go around. When we moved here to Calgary, one of the people that really had a bad rep are the Lebanese, because the Lebanese guys would be, they usually traveled in groups, but they would be demeaning to women as they walked by, and sneer and chant and do rude gestures and stuff like that. And most of them were Lebanese Muslim men. Now I know Lebanese who are Christian too. I mean, and when I talk to them, they say there was a time back in the 70s, and it was in 79 when everything started to change and into the 80s. And but they lived in harmony, they lived in peace, it was prosperous and everything else. But it was when this radicalness started to happen of really wanting to radicalize and believe I am the only one. I am justified in being who I am because I am the only one, right? Only the way I think, only the way I rule counts. And when we look at the astrology, and that's why we're seeing the radicalness and the craziness. I mean, we have right now NATO meeting in Washington D.C., and they do want war. They do. I mean, this is where they're coming together on what they can do to Putin, right? Thank God Putin's level-headed. You know, you can call me a Putin lover or whatever. I don't give a fuck anymore. Um, this is where it's you got a person who is like, okay, I don't want to be the one who pushes the button. I want to be, level-headed. I don't want my people killed, and that's because it's Mother Russia. The mother cares for her children, right? And you have all of these others that are at the door begging and banging and wanting to create this atrocity. But in creating this atrocity and doing this is where we have to step up. We have to step up to the higher. Stepping up to the higher is when the witches went into the woods and did their rituals. This is when women would gather because the men were gone and did the rosary every single day. They did prayers. Prayers are powerful. Witches do spells. Spells are prayers, right? So this is part of the stepping up. Stepping up is stepping up into your spirituality. Stepping up is stepping up and saying, you know what? Why not the Canadian flag? Why not the American flag? Like it's like almost like if you wear if you if he maybe it was the American flag, I would have said the same thing. You're in Canada. Why are you waving the American flag? Like what the fuck, buddy? That's the same thing. Like why? Right? And this is where coming in and saying this is truth. But truth is a hard one. Truth is like, whoa, do I want to hear that truth? Because if I step up, what does that mean? That means I'm targeted. If I step up and say what I need to say, that means I'm targeted. And if I'm targeted, oh, what does that do to my reputation? And then I go back and I think of all of the ones. I think of Gandhi, you know, and of course conspiracy theories came up about Gandhi, but he stood up to the British government. you know it's just like, and he said, Gandhi even said, he goes, people, they came and they went after him. His own people, like, oh, what are you, Muslim? Are you Sikh? Are you Muslim? What are you? He goes, I'm all, because we are all brothers and sisters in one. And that's truth. And but when you have that rotten apple that comes in, that rotten apple ends up rottening so much others and so many other things. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing it, I mean, in Ireland. I mean, they're really starting to they want the people out. They want them out because it's their girls are being raped. And with the statistics that are coming out is that over 2/3 of women that are raped in was it in Sweden, were raped by Muslim men that came into the country in the last 5 years. And I mean, that gives the whole people a bad rap. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of women raped by certain they weren't raped by Swedish men. That's what they're finding in England. They're not being abused. I mean, these are women, they, they take the underground home, and especially blonde women, and they're followed, and they're jeered, and there are groups that go after them. And it's coming to a point where, a lot of women don't want to go, they don't want to go out at night. They can't go to the corner store. And this is the rise. This is the rise. This is where this is where values have to come in, and this is where morals have to come in. Doesn't matter if you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim. It really doesn't matter. You're wanting to come together. You're wanting to come together in unity. You're wanting to come together to have a better life for one another. You're wanting to be able to have that your children can thrive and grow and prosper. Last night, my daughter, she was over at a girlfriend's place, and she's been having a hard time. So lots of prayers out to Olivia. She's been having a pretty hard time. So, anyways, she came out, and somebody smashed and I'm going to say it was probably somebody drunk, and smashed her back window of her car. And now she's trying to figure out how to pay a $500 replacement window. And it's like, oh, all I was thinking is thank God you weren't in the car, or thank God you weren't around when they were doing that. As that was my first thought, is like, you're fine, you're okay, it's a window, right? But yeah, for her, now she has to go and figure out how to pay the $500, right? Because she didn't get glass insurance. And a lot of people in Alberta, well, anyways, glass insurance. So it probably would have been a $500 deductible anyways. Should have paid anyways. But that's the whole thing, is like, now for her, she's out $500 that she doesn't have, and partially for what she wanted to do with Mateus. So that's a huge thing, right? So for her, so hey, buy me a coffee, I'll send her the money. That's the thing, it's these crazy things that are happening. And I worry when she goes out. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've seen my daughter, but my daughter's fucking stunning. I mean, I don't know where she got it from, but she's gorgeous. And she's fit, and she is um she's a little bit sarcastic and outspoken. I don't know where that came from, but she's a little bit there. And but you know she's got this, when her and Eddie, when they walk in a room, it's kind of weird. People just stare, and people just stare at her because she's just like, oh, who is she, kind of thing. And people just want to talk to her. A lot of people go up and just talk to her. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing when you're with my kids, because it's just weird. You'll sit there and just people just come up and start chatting to them, and just and it's I just laugh. And you know if Steve's around, he'll just say, he'll say something. I wonder where she got that from. I don't know, just that sassiness, a little bit of sass. But that's all part of it. My heart goes out if I and that's the other part too. It's like, oh my God, I can't wallow in that I can't help her. I got to pray for her. I got to pray that something positive comes in for her, and really call in the blessings of the angels for a miracle, that money comes in, somebody comes in, helps her to pay for that, back window, 'cause she can't go driving around with no window, right? It's not safe, and and plus she has Mateus as well. So it's again, this is I'm going to go back, the victim of the crime. The victim of the crime pays more than that of the person who does the crime, because that person's gone. Are they going to get caught or whatever? maybe not. If they do, they might get a slap on the wrist. And that's the whole thing. It's like a lot of these guys are just getting slaps on the wrist. Just now in the UK with the new prime minister, and this is where the learning part comes in. Everybody's all happy about the Labour Party that just came in. He's releasing over 40,000 prisoners out of the prisoner system because they don't have room in the prison system. And one of the ones is one of the and he's Muslim. A lot of these guys that they're releasing are Muslims that are part of grooming gangs that he's releasing back onto the streets of Britain. And this is where people are, you're going to find this is where the revolt, this is where the revolution comes in. We're going to find, especially as Pluto goes back into Capricorn, how things are just going to start getting really violent, and people are going to get violent because, as I said, it takes people a pushing point. And when the Serbs back in the, I can't remember if it was in the 13th century or the 14th century, where they started, they were being taxed, and part of being taxed was that the Lord would come around and he wanted to see if your wife was really your wife, right? And start to take advantage of the men's wives or daughters, right? Are they really a virgin? Let me find out if they're a virgin, kind of thing. Because if they would want to tax you if you did have virgins, like they tax you more, something crazy like that. And they went into this one town, and the one leader of the town, or the mayor, just said fuck it, and he cut the guy's head off. God love people in the Middle Ages. Fuck it, I'm gonna cut your head off, right? And that's what he did. Cut his head off. Well, they did come back. Of course, a lot of the king's men came back to say you can't cut his head off, but they're ready. They were prepared for him, right? And they fought back. But that's what's going to happen. And if there's going to be a revolt, there's going to be a revolt in Ireland because don't you're fucking around in the wrong place. I mean, the Irish have enough to contend with, let alone with somebody going around raping their children. And that's what ends up triggering people and having to step up. A lot of people who are writing that post, of me saying, oh, wave the Canadian, why not the Canadian flag? A lot of people, who are mad at me for writing that, don't know. They are totally blinded by everything. They're totally blinded by the whole understanding of what that flag they're waving around means. They have no idea what that flag means. They don't understand that what that flag means, and especially as a woman, that means that you have no more rights. That you are less than. That you can be accused of something and you don't have a right to speak out. And this is where this is, as the summer goes on, and this week, and we're coming up to a full moon in Capricorn, this is where we're going to start seeing more of a revolt. We're going to see more people, and the extremists are going to be even more extreme. They're going to call them a humanitarian. This is a humanitarian. The humanitarians are going to be the extremists, are going to come out in the extreme way. And that's what that Pluto at 1 degree, right? Just that just shaking there, right? And those extremists come out, and then it hit the fan in September. And things going to just start going crazy and going violent. We don't want violence. That's why it's part of the stepping up is part of stepping up in your spirituality. Part of the stepping up is stepping up into the truth of who you are and standing up in that truth. I didn't post anything back to anybody in that because it's not worth it. I just sent them love, and then just carried on my way, right? Carry on my way and saying that, yeah, you know what? I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be a Canadian. I'm proud that I'm able to be here with all of you, to be able to speak about oracle cards and tarot cards and the astrology. Because there are the extremists that don't want that. They don't want the astrologers. They don't want the tarot readers, especially a woman speaking about it, especially a woman, giving psychic readings. Oh, God forbid, and stepping into that. They don't want that. That's a huge target. They don't want someone speaking out about, against the government or against NATO. They don't want that. That's the other part too. Is speaking out against NATO is because all this group, it's not all of it's not the people, it's this group. And that's the thing. It's like you got to focus on that group, not on because the people want peace, the people want liberty, the people want sovereignty, the people want to live. And we could see that too, right? Within the astrology, we could see that too with the where Jupiter is in Gemini. They want that. They want to educate. They want to expand that. But you have where, especially with Neptune, just Neptune just sitting there brings in illusions, brings in crazy. So you got to really watch and come down into your spirituality, watch your dreams, watch, the information that comes in, and holding it into your heart and knowing that this is what's guiding me to step up into the next direction and not be the bystander. We're coming to a time is that you can't be the bystander. It doesn't matter if it's, you could say, well, it's happening in England. It doesn't matter. It's happening in Ireland. It doesn't matter. It's happening here. It doesn't matter. But remember the pebble in the pond, that vibration affects us because that comes here. How many immigrants have passed through our borders? Illegally, not legally, not the beautiful people that come in here. I know it's one of my girlfriends, she's a long-time client, but her dad is hilarious. He's he immigrated to Canada from India, and he's been in Canada, like, I think he came as a young man, so I think he's in his 70s now, right? So he's been in Canada for over 50 years. But he is hilarious listening to him talk. So he's like, he goes, and especially with his Indian accent, where it's like when he came to Canada, he goes, I had to work at whatever I could find in order to make a better life. So that I knew if I had daughters, I did not want my daughters living in India. He goes, I love India. He says, you talk to him. He loves India. He loves everything. The idea of India, the food, and the family unit, and he loves all of that. But he goes, not for the way that my daughter would be treated would not be the same she'd be treated in Canada, where she would have the rights to get a better education, to get a better health system, and there's no caste system, here in Canada, and he said that was one of the main reasons. So when he came to work here, to, yeah, you keep part of your culture, but the celebration of being a Canadian is huge. Like if we're celebrating Canada Day and stuff like that, and he, he goes, the Canadian flag for him is first. And he's an immigrant. He's from India, right? He's Sikh. And that's the thing, is like you stepping into it and stepping up, it's not going to be easy. We're in for a crazy ride. We've already been, and people think, oh well, it's been crazy already. No, wartime mentality is totally fucking different than what we are now. This is where there's going to be restrictions. This is where they are going to want to restrict our farmers, right? And that's coming in right now in Europe. In parts of Europe, they're wanting to charge you per cow, per chicken, per pig, and then they're going after the sheep. They want to charge the farmers. So if they want to charge you 100 euros per animal, so that means, like, all of a sudden he's already paid. It's like having a tax on your animal. So now you've already paid for that cow or that pig, and that now you have to pay 100 €100 tax on that. That's where the craziness is, right? That's where those that's where that control is. That's where uprising, that's where stepping up and saying, "No, we're not going to do this." You think they're not going to do it in Canada? I mean, we got a prime minister that doesn't want to step the fuck down. And we're seeing that. And I told you, I mean, September, October, that's when craziness is going to happen more to Trudeau and to our Canadian government. We're going to see some craziness happening there. This is where we step up and we say, yeah, I'm going to start speaking out. I'm going to start looking into my local government or being a part of it, or at least knowing who is on your school board, knowing who is on your council. It's understanding on who's that. And maybe even getting to know them. Give them a call. Like, where's your office? What are you doing? What do you represent? I never really, sat down and chatted before. Those types of things. With the tax. So here we are in this time, and today is a time to really sit and contemplate, where am I going to step up in my life? Where am I going to start taking charge in my world? And what does that look like? And it's scary. Me, it's just writing a freaking comment on saying, why not the Canadian flag? But me showing up every day. And that's the big one. So my special for Sunday is $33. So if anybody's interested, they can book now. It's a 15-minute reading. We can do it live, one-on-one, or I can do a recording for you. So it's either or. So that is for this Sunday. The following Sunday will be the full moon, and I will have a full moon special on, which will be, if you are wanting a full moon reading, which is a recorded message that I do. And I'm putting that out now because I'm going to put it out and they're going to be $30. So if you wanted a full moon reading, they're regular $40. So if you're wanting a full moon reading, those are $30. So if you're interested in doing that. And on the 15th, we have the Astrology Club. So if you want to come and join us for the Astrology Club, and we can tap into a few things on your chart and the transits and what they are meaning to you in your life. So, and that's on the 15th. That's $50. Plus, I have Buy Me a Coffee. So if anybody wants to buy me a coffee, that would be greatly appreciated, as I'm going on a little bus ride in about 20 minutes. So I got to hustle here. And thank you to all who's donated for Buy Me a Coffee. It's been greatly appreciated because we were able to get some groceries. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Many of you didn't ask. You did it anonymously. And so thank you so very much for doing that. Okay, let's pull some cards here. Yeah, it's going to feel like mud. It's going to be difficult to move in the direction that we want to do. It's going to feel very heavy, right? So in comes the Knight of Pentacles, and that heaviness is there. I want to move forward, but I feel stuck. Where do I go? This is where you got to take that time and release. Know that what's ever going in your mind, it's really, what is it? I know what's going through my mind is not mine. I am what I am. And I'm going to trust in the divine to guide me. Which way do I go? Trusting in which way do I step up? How do I do things more? And sometimes you may feel, well, I don't have anything to offer. I don't know what I'm going to do. How can I step up? How are you building your strength? How are you, are you exercising, eating well? Are you creating a better, healthier you? That's stepping up, right? Stepping up is like, how am I able to better my future? And some of you might be saying, well, I can't do anything right now, I'm stranded. Yeah, but there are ways. There are ways. So asking, stepping up is so important. And in doing that, ooh, the death card comes in. Death comes to all, but the death card reversed. I laugh because the death card is also ruled by um who rules the death card? Wow. Scorpio rules the death card. Right, so I can't find it because it's a death card. He doesn't want to be found. Oh, it's because he's sticking. So here it is. What do I need to release and let go of with the death card? So when we're stuck, what do I need to release? What do I need to release to get unstuck? This is about death and transformation. It is the Scorpio card. And Scorpio disposits Pluto disposits Scorpio. And so this can be an indication that you are resisting some kind of change. What are you holding on to? Change is coming. We have to be able to step forward, right? And step up. And it may be helpful to face whatever blockages are there. So it's showing us that there's blockages. We have these blockages. Identifying them. Why are we so scared? You know, it's like if people stand up to the gangs, well, they might kill me. Yeah, that's pretty bad. They'll go after my family. They'll go after my children. And I'm just like, okay, that's what every tyrant and bully does. But the more we gather, the more we come together, the more we stand up, then we're not going to have assholes going around and breaking windows on people's vehicles. We're not going to have, I was watching, is it Nigeria? Anyways, his name is Bald and Bankrupt. And he has a YouTube channel. He travels all over. But Bald and Bankrupt. But anyways, he's talking about this, and he was in the ghetto of Nigeria. He's in the ghetto part, and he's talking. These guys were saying, "Well, we're cleaners." And he goes, "What do you mean you're cleaners?" He goes, "When the market's closed, we go through and we got to clean the streets and clean things up." And he goes, "Oh," well, what do you do when you find a thief? And the guys say, "He gets punished." He goes, that's it. He gets punished. We catch a thief, he gets punished. He gets 40 lashes. Oh, so in other words, he gets a fucking spanking. So it's the thing is that then when people know that you're not going to tolerate shit anymore, they retreat because they know they can't take advantage. And it's stepping up, and it's a hard fucking thing to do. We don't want to choose sides. We want to bless either side. We want to bring love into either side. But sometimes you got to be the mother and stand in that truth. And with that, you got to stand in that truth. You got to stand in that knowingness, because it's in that knowingness, it's in that truth that, especially with the star reversed, this is where the self-doubt and everything comes in. It's like, I want to do this, but doubt comes in. This is when you are ready to move forward and you'll experience a transformation you need. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask for that guidance. The guidance is there, but that doubt will come in to stop you. The doubt's the evil. The doubt's the devil saying, you can't do this. Be afraid. Cower down. Don't say you want to be underneath the Canadian flag. So God forbid that I live in Canada and I want to be under the Canadian flag. Stand in your truth. Stand. So I got to get going. I got to go run and catch a bus. God bless, and the goddess bless you. And if you are wanting to buy me a coffee, and that would be greatly appreciated. Or join or get a reading. That's great, and that's very helpful. Have a blessed one. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. Thank you for all being a part, and we're in for a crazy ride, people. Hang on. We can do this. We have the divine, we have the Lord and the Lady with us. God bless and the goddess bless.